ready? All set? Okay. We'll call the regular monthly meeting of the Columbia City Plan Commission to order on October the 6th, 2025 at 7 p.m. and have roll call.
Chip Hill.
Here.
John Kissenberg.
Here.
Don Langlow.
Here.
Jennifer Romano. Here. Nikki Venable. Here. Dennis Warnick.
Here.
Ian Beagle.
Here.
Larry Weiss.
Here.
Patrick Seagrass.
Here. Previous meeting minutes from May the 5th, 2025.
I move they be passed as written. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the minutes from May the 5th. Those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed, motion carried. At this time, we'll swear in any witnesses. So if you care to speak at all tonight and have any questions or any presentations, Greg our attorney will swear you in, please. So you'll need to stand.
Stand and raise your right hand, please. Do you swear or affirm under the penalties of perjury the testimony we're about to offer will be the truth? If so, say I do.
I do.
You may put your hands down. Thank you.
Make a full business. None? New business 25-C-SUBD-2 Wal-Mart Real Estate Business Trust. One lot subdivision, 402 West Plaza Drive. Nathan?
Thank you, Mr. President. So going to these slides. This is 25C SUBD2 is a primary replat to be called the Wal-Mart edition. As you said, it's 402 West Plaza Drive, which is the address of Wal-Mart itself, consisting of Lot 1 of the Town and Country Plaza recorded in 1990 and a 2.5 acre parcel, adjacent parcel, which was acquired by Wal-Mart in 1996 to allow for their super Wal-Mart expansion at that time. What is being proposed tonight is to combine the platted lot and the unplatted parcel in order to create one unified lot. Doing so requires a planning process. That's why we're here. In short, Wal-Mart wants to do this for two reasons. One, to place the building all on one lot, just to avoid questions about whether there's a setback intervening and so on. It's not our policy to treat it as such, but they feel it would be better to place it all on one lot. And a little bit more importantly, as I mentioned in the written staff report, it would relocate a utility easement that was platted with Town and Country Plaza, but not relocated back in 1996. There was an access easement that was coincident with the utility easement, which was relocated in 1996, but the utility easement wasn't. So this proposed replat would serve to relocate that easement so it doesn't go underneath the building. All of this was stemming from a planned building addition. They were doing due diligence and found out that they own two parcels and all of these different factors came into play. It's not related to the building addition in that the building addition could go on even without this plat, but it is related in that it was the reason for starting it. So as you can see there, the zoning code is met, the minimum acreage and so on, as is normal with a combined. So highlighted in blue are the two parcels that Wal-Mart owns, which would be combined, and you can see the overall Town Country Plaza as well as US 30 and Steerage 109 off to the right. Closer view. You may note as well that Walton Drive, as originally developed in 1990, only went up to this point in 1996 when the unplatted parcel was acquired. Wal-Mart or someone extended the pavement on north, so the actual pavement of Walton Drive actually extends onto the adjacent property to the north, which had been for a moment going to be potentially part of this, or at least part of the discussion with this plat. However, because we have the second plat on the agenda tonight, coincidentally, it would dedicate that right of way. So it's kind of a moot point with this project, but wanted to point that out. This is the proposed plat as submitted. The area, the gray area there in the middle is that relocated utility easement, as I mentioned. And you can barely see it, but this is the plat overlaid on top of the aerial. Do have a couple different proposed conditions, pretty minor. Number one, there's a couple names to correct in the Board of Works signature block, not a big deal. Number 2 and 3 are standard conditions to address any comments of the reviewing agencies, which there were a couple, but they were not very substantive. And then number 3, because this is a minor plat, delegate secondary plat approval to staff. Any questions for me at this point? Oh, one other note. We do, I believe, have a representative in the audience for Wal-Mart, and then we also have a representative, the main contact is online as well. So just FYI.
Okay. Questions for Nathan? Okay, representative from Wal-Mart.
Hi, my name is Dave Narden.
You come up to the podium and state your name and your address, please.
My name is David Narden. My address is 7068 Ledgestones Common, Bartlett, Tennessee. Nathan's kind of described everything, so I don't know what I can add.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone from the public wish to address this proposal? Okay. If not, we'll close that part. And board, what's your pleasure?
Make the motion to approve 25C-SUBD-2 Wal-Mart Real Estate Business Trust with the comments, conditions Nathan talked about.
Second?
Okay, motion and a second. Any further discussion? Those in favor, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
For the record, Don, were you opposed?
It was just slow.
Just
You did. I did see your hand go up. It was just a little later.
wanted to make sure we had that
I
right.
need a picture of that. I was like, what the heck is he?
Hey, I had to dot your eyes all the time.
Next item on our agenda is 25-C-SUBD-3 Swihart Properties LLC. 137 lot subdivision called the Busche Project, northwest corner of Plaza Drive and Line Street, State Road 109. Nathan.
Okay, moving on to this one. This is a primary plat, which currently is comprised of two different pieces, three actually, I would say. Overall, as a primary plat, the name is the Busche Project. I would expect that the individual pieces probably will have different marketing names as they come online, if this is proposed. It is located on the west side of Line Street, north of Armstrong Drive and Walton Drive, north of Wal-Mart and everything we just looked at. As proposed, the subdivision would include, part one would be the collector street connecting Armstrong Drive over to State Road 109, proposed to be called Adeline Lane. Along with that would be an extension of Walton Drive north to Adeline Lane. Part two would be 33 single-family detached lots on the northwest side of Adeline Lane on the northwest side of the overall property. And then part three would be up to 104 single-family detached or possibly attached units located on the south side of Adeline Lane or the southeast side of the curve. That area is still conceptual, which you'll see in your packets and then on the screen here in a second. But as a primary plat, this would set forth the maximum lot count. There would still be variation possibly. There may still be other approvals needed, including possibly special exception, rezoning, variances, or a plat revision, depending on exactly how it's nailed down as they go through the engineering. Again, I feel that the concept is solid enough to present as part of the primary plat, but still there's flexibility in things that need to be ironed out. So again, conceptual, but a solid concept. Also included would be detention areas, a couple of which are a little bit more preliminary than others, and then additional future development areas on the east side, basically east of Walton Drive, which would be subject to additional plats. Those might be commercial, they may be additional residential, might be a mix, might be all three. So you can see there on the table, the area of this plat is approximately 40 acres. Total number of lots would be up to 137. New street length, just under 4,500 of public. That would be the Adeline Lane, Walton Drive, as well as the public streets in the northern residential area. As proposed, there would be about 3,500 feet of private street in the southern residential area. It's proposed to be private because of the right-of-way width being proposed to be narrower, as well as a couple other reasons. If they can actually meet the code, that may become public. It may trigger the need for coming back for primary plat approval at that point. But if that does occur, there would be additional things, I'm sure, that would have to be further refined. The code minimums, lot size in GB, this is all zone GB general business. Code minimum lot size is 5,000 square feet. Proposed minimum for the northern area is 7,200 square feet. Proposed unit size, lot size per unit on the southern part would be 1,650 square feet. That, I believe, is for a proposed couple fourplexes. Those would be quad units. Again, our code does not really deal well with 4-unit attached dwellings, so how we actually deal with that in maybe a variance and so on, we'll have to further refine. The lot widths, 58 feet on the northern portion, 54 feet per unit on the southern. Again, some of those may actually be broken up a little narrower as you look at it. Lot frontage to be determined, which at this stage is not unusual for a major plat, and then common areas would also be to be determined. Total area is what I usually put in there. There would be some common areas as proposed, though. So the reference aerial, not all of this area would, of course, be included in the plat. The easternmost area would be subject to that future platting. So this is the proposed plat. This is the area that would be the 33 single-family detached lots. This is the area that would be the 104 single-family lots that are, again, conceptual, but basically the access points and so on and maximum lot count would be there. And then these areas would be for future platting as market dictates. Plat overlaid on the aerial. This is a little easier to see than the Wal-Mart plat. But again, you can see how this connects in between Armstrong Drive, which dead ends approximately here, on over to State Road 109 Line Street and Walton Drive continuing up. Because there is developable property to the north, I do have recommendation, and the code does recommend that there be a stub street to the north. This side, where you can see that there are ponds and rolling topography, doesn't make sense. You've got wetlands here as well. But somewhere within that 1,000 feet on the eastern 1,000 feet of that common property line, there should be a stub street. Doesn't really necessarily figure into this plat, this primary plat, other than potentially having a curb cut on Adeline Lane. But as, again, those future plats come forward, the petitioner really should figure on that, and the planning commission should plan on that as well.
And even if we put a stub street in there, it doesn't have to be necessarily at the exact location. If they could move it at some time.
Right, yes, that's a good point. Being a primary plat, it's subject to change. So what we put on here, if we show 850 feet, when it actually gets developed, it may be 900 feet away from Line Street, or it may be 700. But it needs to provide that connectivity between the properties is what the code is looking for. So going through the proposed conditions from staff, there are some comments from reviewing agencies. I'm not going to reiterate what they've said. Again, a standard condition there of number one, that anything that they have as comments needs to be addressed. Number two, setting forth clearly that the unit count shall not exceed 137 as proposed. If they do wish to exceed that, it would trigger the need for coming back for second primary approval. Number three is a condition that we usually include when we have need for sidewalks, and that would be that sidewalks shall be a minimum of 5 feet in width. Number four clearly states that the street width and pavement section are to comply with the subdivision code and or street department specifications. Number five, I mentioned about the stub street. Number six, adjust the deficient lot areas to comply with the zoning code minimums and obtain additional approvals as may be necessary. That's the southern residential area. Number seven, this is a condition to require that a property owners association be mandated with covenants and restrictions, which would also include funding mechanisms for the maintenance of any common areas and improvements. As I said, this is proposed to have at least some common areas. The future commercial areas may not, so those may have other reasons to have a property owners association. There are some private streets involved which need to be funded and maintained, so making sure that we have that established and funded is going to be an important piece of this overall puzzle. Number eight, covenants and restrictions would be reviewed by staff prior to recordation. Sometimes you do have them submit to the Plan Commission for secondary plat approval. I leave that up to your discretion. I'm fine if we have very clear things that we're looking for, reviewing it administratively prior to recordation. And then number nine, this we have done before, secondary plat approval be delegated to staff if it's administrative. However, if there are performance sureties proposed or other issues that staff needs to send to the Plan Commission, then secondary plat goes to the whole Plan Commission. We've done that, I believe we did that with Timber's Edge Section 2. They had a surety proposed that you had to accept. So with that, kind of a high-level summary, any questions for me?
Question I have is on item number 2, where it says the lot quantity will not exceed 137. They though would be allowed to reduce that if they want to make adjustments in that southern part, possibly incorporate those streets to become public.
Correct. The general principle is that if you need to reduce the number of units, you can. This would set out the maximum units set forth.
Okay.
Nathan, the private streets, you said to reduce the width by any idea how much it would be reduced?
The petitioner can give you more details, but it would not be reducing the pavement width, it would be reducing the right-of-way width in order to get more lot area in there. But that's where they felt the trade-off would be, but the actual pavement width would be what the city spec is. Again, petitioner can correct me with those details.
And
Private streets. Would those be, they would maintain those and clean the snow and all that good stuff?
That's what's being proposed, correct?
Okay.
The few concerns I have with that is, that all sounds great, being a private street starting out, but what happens in a couple, 3 years, like we had an example of Bluebird Drive, where it was a private street, and then, oh, well, we don't want to maintain it anymore, and then the city had to maintain it. I'm not so sure private streets are, that great of an idea at this point. I can understand the reasoning behind, the right-of-way change, but at the same time, we've had history where those streets become the city's responsibility after a few years. Maybe a little longer than that, but I'm not so sure a private drive or private street. I know we would accept the responsibility of maintaining it, I get that, and snow plowing and all that kind of stuff, but at the same time, I'm not so sure it's such a great idea to have a private street. Well, inevitably it's going to be a city street at some point. That's just up for discussion.
And when that happens, it's usually because the street's in bad need of repair.
Exactly.
They don't have the funds to do it.
Yeah, and then it falls back on the city, like Bluebird Drive did. So I'm just opening it up for discussion. I've just got some concerns because I've seen it happen before.
What's the addition that we had just had a modification to, there off of Hannah Street, that Don's group, where they were developing it, and we allowed for some variance of the public street because of the a smaller front lot setback or something.
So that was Timber's Edge,
Okay.
Section 2, which had a waiver. So a waiver is a variance of the subdivision code. So that might be something that could be applied here, basically getting a waiver of the right-of-way width, but not necessarily of the pavement specification.
Right.
Waivers have to be approved as part of the primary plat, which is what we're talking about tonight. And if the petitioner is able to talk about that tonight, you can give them feedback on that. We're not prepared because it wasn't advertised. Waivers, because they are essentially variances, need to be part of what's publicly put out there ahead of the meeting. But you can go into that detail. So that might be an avenue.
So could it be omitted? Could that south side part be omitted? I mean, if we approve the fundamental site development plan and exclude that, if they want to pursue the whole, that variance and modification. I think I'm getting what Greg's got.
Sorry, Greg.
So that would be one option. And I would say you guys need to have the petitioner give you some feedback on how that fits into their overall plans. But that could be an option, yes.
Okay.
So just to verify, there'll be access to this subdivision through Walden Drive, Armstrong Drive, and in the future, State Road 109.
Currently, State Road 109, Armstrong, Walton, and in the future, a stub street to the north.
3 access.
One of the other concerns I have is the lot sizes. Coming into this, I mean, it looks to me, I couldn't read much from that print there. I can't see where the building setback lines are. I couldn't see where much of anything because it was too doggone small, even when I windowed in on it. I'm concerned about building lines, setbacks, the easements that run through there. I couldn't tell much of anything from it, except for the fact that some of those lots were 50 foot, 54 feet. To me, that's a lot too small, because what we deal with on city council and the police department and all that is the after effect of when they get built. Because when you put houses that close together, people, you'd love to say everybody gets along, but that doesn't happen all the time. You know, from dogs barking to kids being yelled at to all that stuff. When you have a 50-foot lot and you build a house within 5 feet of the side setback on the side line, side of the home, that's pretty tight. We have two beautiful subdivisions already in place, Deer Chase and the one on the east side of 109. But anyways, those are fairly decent sized lots, and it seems as though people are getting along in those areas.
Well, I'll just flip back on that, Dan. Those lots to build today, I mean, you're probably looking at a $500,000 house. What we're trying to get here is more starter homes, more homes for people. I mean, if you're coming out of college right now, you can't afford to buy a house. I mean, we've got, I'll say, 6 kids working for us that either live at home or rent apartments that would love to buy something. I mean, you're not getting anything out in Deer Chase or Eagle Glen. So,
but I get that. I just, I would just like to see a little bigger lots. And then like I said, I didn't see how the building lines to make sure we can get at least 2 cars in the driveway, because that's an issue. Because parking is an issue. I get it if they're having parties or whatever. I mean, that happens, but I gotta make sure we can get a EMS or fire truck through there. And I just don't want to see garden houses, what we've had on that east side, where you couldn't even get a car in that driveway. And it was sitting over the side of the sidewalk, and that goes against the ordinance. And a lot of stuff happened with that one. And the houses were basically side by side in that area. And it created a lot of issues with people. And so, I get it from the developer side of stuff. More lots, the more money, the more water, sewer. I mean, I know with taxes, I get it. There's more money. But sometimes I think we need to look at the convenience for homeowners on how we can get along. And that there just looks like everything jammed together for some reason. I guess I would like to see a little more space between lots, which would take, I know it would cut it down for the developer side of things. I get that. But at the same time, we as a council have to deal with the public when the situations arise. And I'm just trying to get away from some of that. If we can make it more user-friendly, so to speak. And like I say, I get what you're saying with housing costs.
Well, I mean, if you go down county, it's very, very common. I mean, this is a traditional development, and that's what I hate to say it, but our planner was on day one almost invited into this. This is kind of what he wanted, just to bring a different place to live for people, because our community's diversifying, and it's not going to be all major subdivisions or whatever. So we've got to, we were just trying to find a different niche to.
Well, like I say, I just look at when a home is built, because everybody wants a big backyard and not so much a big front yard. But at the same time, we need to make sure we got space for people to park. As the garage sits back and the living rooms or whatever sits in front. I've seen that happen. That works. I just want to make sure we're not have to deal with parking issues. And, that's why I was a little concerned. I can't hardly read where the lines are on that map. I would have liked to see a little better map, a little bigger, so I can actually understand what we're getting.
And for safety wise, and I'm sure that when the representative comes up and speaks, they'll probably speak to that, but just the sidewalking, is it just through that portion? Is it going all the way to Armstrong Drive? Is it going all the way down Walton Road? Is it going all the way to 109? Just curious on that one.
Sidewalks are required throughout, yes.
Just wanted to make sure.
What are the size of those lots right now on the project? Just roughly.
That was the previous slide here. So the northern area, the minimum lot size is 7,200 square feet with 58 feet wide. The southern area is to be determined, but the smallest that's shown, there's 3 or 4 fourplex areas that are labeled as 1,650 square feet each. So take those times 4 for the overall building. And then lot width is 54 feet. Again, some of those are split. So,
Well, we'll get a sample when they finally get to a point where they want to present it again. I was just curious where it is now.
Is that what I'm saying?
so for reference, Deer Chase is about 1.6 units per acre. It has about 150 lots over about 94 acres. For using that density on this project, 137 lots, it would be about 80 some, let me bring that calculator back, about 85 acres. So basically the entire site would be 137 lots if we were developing it at Deer Chase's density. So you lose out on all of the proposed commercial area.
Well, just for reference, I think, Mr. Brooks, the Linglo back there, worked with us really well on the site development of Timber's Edge, where we were proposing some differences for the driveways and location of the house. I mean, it all worked together, and I think we got a pretty successful subdivision going in there, so we have a good example of what to follow there. So, I don't know, I'm just thinking we've already seen something that smaller lots that I think we can piggyback on, so to speak, from that example. So I know it required a lot of discussion, but I think we got something going pretty well back on that subdivision. So I don't know, I'm just, like I say, without being able to actually see the blueprint, it's really hard to tell what's going on for sure there.
Anything else for Nathan?
I have another question. What is the plan for like exiting out of the addition? Is that a light? Is that stop sign? Like what is, because the existing roadway out of there is a mess.
We had to do, if I can comment real quick, to tie into 109, Mr. Busche had to file for a traffic study. And so we are doing a traffic study of 109 and a connection way in Armstrong. We don't know what's going to come up because that intersection is bad, but that should show us if we need a roundabout, stoplight, whatnot, make it a full way. And it'll also tell us what's needed at 109.
But we wouldn't know that until after this would be approved.
Yeah, we're waiting on it right now. That's why the one drive is not going over 109 because we can't tie in yet.
I just heard it.
I'm surprised we haven't. On the 30th, then trying to get out. I think they eventually be one talking about that for
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Anything else for Nathan? Okay. Representative from Bushe's.
Good evening. I'm David Brown with DA Brown Engineering, 5491 County Road 427, Auburn, Indiana. I'm here on behalf of the Swihart Properties. We have a member of Swihart Properties, Jerry Busche here. I'm sorry, these aren't huge. I set it up for a 24 by 36, but I do have smaller ones if you'd like to see those while I'm going through this process. Passing those down. So if you don't mind, I'd like to describe the project, and then I would like to then go back. I think I wrote down all of your comments I'd like to address a little bit at a time. So as you look at this primary plat of this property, it's you're all here from Columbia City. You know this property's been sitting vacant for, well, since 1990 when Wal-Mart went in. So this has been a very strong piece to Columbia City that needs to be developed. It's, there's been great planning done on this property. And so Swihart Properties was able to start working on this. We actually have been looking at this since last fall, trying to come up with a plan for this. And so what has been determined, what's needed in Columbia City is affordable housing. Yes, everyone would like to live in $1 million house, $2 million house, but The thing of it is, we have a bunch of young kids that can't afford housing, so we're trying to get affordable housing. So that's what we are using at this point in time. So we're meeting the, your zoning ordinance lays out, says that you need to have a 50-foot wide lot. So that's what we are meeting with that ordinance. And just, I'm going to sidetrack really quick before I get back into the rest of this. In today's market, it doesn't matter where you're at. It used to be 20 years ago, if you were in Fort Wayne, it was just more expensive. You could come to Columbia City, you could go to a villa, you could go to Warsaw, you could go to Ligonier or whatever, and you could get a much cheaper rate. Those times are gone just because of the construction costs. Everything has gone up. So right now, a lot, they're being sold by the lineal foot. So it's not the size of your lot. It's not if you're buying an acre lot or half acre lot. It's by the lineal foot on your road because that's what it costs to construct it. It's your the road cost, the infrastructure cost, and the sanitary, the water, the gas, everything else that goes into it. And that's about $1,300 a lineal foot. Excuse me, in today's world. So that 50-foot lot, if you do the math on that, it comes out to $65,000. That lot is $65,000. Now, the other little ratio you come in here is it's a 4-to-1 ratio. So if your lot costs $65,000, you need to times that times 4. That's the final cost of your house. So if you do that math, that comes out to a $260,000 house. That may be shocking because 10 years ago to me, that was an 80-foot wide or a 90-foot wide lot. That's not the case anymore. That's what it's running here in Northeast Indiana. So that's on the small side. We'll say it's the small side. That's the south side. The north side, at that 58-foot, that comes out to $75,000, a little over $75,000. Which you take that times 4, that puts it over $300,000. You're at $301,000. So this isn't tiny. We're not trying to slam them in. We're just trying to get houses for our kids, our neighbors, our workers, which doesn't exist.
What kind of square footage are you looking at for?
So these, on that size, and I'll get into that in a little bit more detail, but that size lot that we're looking at there at the south, you could get a house that's 1,200 to 1,800 square feet, believe it or not. So, sorry, I had to throw that out there. So that's the whole reason behind this. So that's why we split this off. We're working on the west end of the project at this point in time. The east end, we know there's a bunch of other, there's balls up in the air, and we're going to come back in with primary once we know exactly what's going to go on at that point. So like I said, we've been working on this for about a year. And since we started on this, we knew that the State Road 109 issue and the 30 issue is a major player in this game. So we have started in May was our first meeting with NDOT to do a traffic impact study. You guys may be aware of the Propel US 3031 study that's been going on, which has really made this complicated for our traffic impact study. That's not even something I'm doing. It's a firm out of Indianapolis that's doing it. They are doing models for NDOT out here with everything that NDOT can think of because they're in control. I know this is on YouTube and they can hear it later, but what NDOT wants happens. So what they want is that's what we have to do. So we're modeling roundabouts and lights and bypasses and yada, yada, yada. So there are a bunch of things that our consultant has been working on. In fact, we have another meeting, this will be virtual with NDOT tomorrow, to discuss some other issues that they have with the traffic impact study. So it's still not done, and we've been working on it for almost 6 months. So it's been a long time. So with that being said, we know there's stuff on the east end we're working on the west end. So we laid it out that we have a nice connection through. We're meeting the ordinance in all aspects that we can. We want to have sidewalks on both sides for nice pedestrian access. That's a huge benefit. It's an amenity to be able to go out and walk with your kids. Or just walk by yourself. So we want to have sidewalks, pedestrian connectivity wherever we can. I'll start with the north side, the more traditional subdivision at that point in time. They are smaller lots, but we're trying to get more affordable housing here that people can live. It'll still be a pretty subdivision. There's nice ground out there with low area and the woods. So we're trying, we figured it would work better there to have the slightly more expensive houses on that side. Those will have 25-foot setbacks. That'll be, we're doing the standard right of way. So this will answer somebody else's question. So Columbia City has a 60-foot right of way. And then you have to go 25 feet on the outside of that. So that's 110 feet from right away to right away. And that really starts eating up your lots and how dense you can get on it. So virtually every other jurisdiction in Northeast Indiana, and I added it up here recently. I've been in 23 different planning commissions in the last 10 years. So I've been in a few places. They're all virtually 50 feet instead of 60. And so that 10 feet doesn't seem like much, but it does help quite a bit in the ability to get more houses on the ground. And once again, yes, the developer's going to make money, but the whole thing with this is to reduce the cost of the lot. And if you have bigger lots, those lots cost more. So yes, it works both ways in this instance. So with that being said, we're going to be 25 feet back. That's enough to keep the cars out of the sidewalks. That's why the zoning code has it that way, and that's what we want to do. Because once again, if you can't walk on a sidewalk, then you don't have pedestrian connectivity. So then it's it's wasted. So that one's kind of simple on the north side. The south side, I had the benefit to work on a project that's on DuPont Road in Lima in Allen County. That's right near the Wal-Mart. It's called DuPont Meadows. That is an apartment style. They are all single family residences, but it's apartments. They all rent them. And that's basically what these lot sizes are. That product, the last I looked, is over 90% occupancy, and those are this dense. And that's because people can't find other places to live. And so we looked at it and said, this would be awesome to be able to get it denser and have people have home ownership. Because that's the only way these people, the kids that are coming up now, they need to have home ownership to keep their wealth going. So it looks great. If you guys are ever over that direction, I highly recommend you to go through it. They did a great job. This was a firm out of Georgia. They've done several around the states now. And so we kind of took that idea and they kind of used the zoning code to their benefit, where the houses, the house may be forward, but the garage is back. So that means it's like an older 50s style house, where you pull up so that the car can still be off of the road or off of the sidewalk, and you can still have community because then you can walk through the sidewalks. So we saw that product. It looks really nice. I have some clients that are builders that build here, Granite Ridge, Lancia, MBM Properties, some other ones. And we had some preliminary conversations with this, and one of the first things every single one of them said, within seconds of talking without doing this denser development, you got to have two cars. You got to have a two-car garage. You got to be able to get the cars off the street. That was their first comment. So we wanted to make sure that we took this type of house product, but we made the garage bigger. We put a two-car garage on it, and we made sure that they could get, so the lot sizes that we have on that south section, you can get two cars off of the street, out of the sidewalk, and you can still make this work. So that was the thought process on that south lane. Now there, as Nathan brought up, and sorry, I should have started off. He did a great job presenting this and giving you all the background. I should have said that. Sorry. So with that being said, we know there's going to be some changes because this is new. This is brand new. But we want to come up with a solution that we can get houses here that people can buy. And Columbia City is positioned perfectly. You guys are in between Fort Wayne and Warsaw. And my builder clients love this area, but they can't find lots. They can't find houses for these people that need to afford that house sub $300,000. It's a unicorn in today's world. You cannot find one in Allen County. So these kids are moving out and they're trying to get it. So this is what we think will work perfect in this location. So I answered the right of way. The HOA, we will have an HOA on this. Let me get back to this. We do want to have a homeowners association here because that's one of the best ways to make sure that the houses are all built appropriately and maintained in the future. We proposed having private streets just because that 60-foot right of way is causing issues with the density. For the 60, if we could get a 50-foot to work, that would be great. We are not scrimping on the pavement section, which is where the longevity of the pavement comes from. We need to have that depth. So that's all being built to city specs. That's the exact same thing that we did here on that project. It's all built to city specs. It's got curb face walk. We still had proof rolls, and we made sure that this was done correctly because this owner didn't want to have destroyed pavement. And you can't sell houses when you have alligator pavement, and it just looks like garbage. So that's what they were moving for at that point. Lot size walks. The exit out of the site, like I said, we have been working with NDOT for near 6 months to come up with an adequate way, and they have said that we will have an access. We just don't know what it's going to look like, what fashion, but we are working that way. So I feel like I missed a whole bunch of points and comments on this thing. We still, this is a primary plat. We still have to come back through and make sure all of our plans meet city specs, and this is going to go to IDEM for the sanitary and the water review. We have to have wetlands delineation, detention calcs, and goes to the surveyor's office and drainage board and NDOT. So there's a long road ahead of us yet, but this is what we think would be a great addition to the city, Columbia City. So is there any other questions I can answer while I'm up here?
When you check that water, I saw here, there's a lot below the ground here, and we're building a building right there by almost 9, and we still got dribbles, and we put in places where if we get the right rain hard enough, it'll say, 2 inches or something like that, they'll go. But what we found out, there's a thing underground called a tile.
Yes.
So, we dug them up, tried to replace as much as we could, but yeah.
Yeah, so in this particular project, all of the pink or the magenta color is storm sewer that we have planned. So that would be the tile that we're all putting in, and that's all in the range of 3 to 7 feet, 8 feet below ground.
Yeah.
And we've already done some preliminary design because we wanted to make sure that the detention basins, those are the ones in blue that we have to put in because we have to meet the restrictions of the city, that those are big enough and deep enough to accept the stormwater from the upstream properties and make sure that we're encountering any, this has been an old farm field that who knows what people have put in. So with our sanitary and our storm lines, I assume that we're going to hit quite a few of those tiles to maintain our groundwater.
Yeah.
I'm assuming the, looks like common areas or wherever there's lines are running where they're not lots. Does the HOA maintain that? Because we've had a couple issues where we had some common areas or whatnot, nobody's maintaining them, and it got the property owners a little excited, I will say. So I'm just trying to say who maintains those?
In the HOAs that I've been familiar with, those are in the covenants. Who maintains them? They're for the benefit and enjoyment of the owners of that subdivision. But then the homeowners association will have their annual dues, and part of the things that they have to do is to maintain the common areas. So they'll be known and
start to fall back on the city, and it's like, no,
yeah,
we don't mow that area, but we'll take care of it. But
no, we will ensure, and part of the secondary process, the review process, is we have to provide restrictions and covenants, and those will be reviewed by staff, and they'll be able to say, hey, you missed this, or please add this into it, and we'll make sure that the covenants are robust.
Well, secondly, I really appreciate your explanations on a lot of the stuff I was asking about. I do appreciate that.
No, I appreciate it. We're here to be transparent and make sure that all answers are taken care of.
Any further questions?
So Chip had mentioned that I kind of jumped on board with this project. Thanks to Chip. So I want to toss out one thing that I showed to the petitioner that might help you guys understand where they're coming from as well, because I think it kind of piqued their interest in what they could do with the project. So this is a project in Longmont, Colorado, called Prospect. Take a guess how wide that lot is that this house sits on. Actually, any of these houses that you can see in that eye shot.
30 feet.
Got a 30-foot. Any other guesses?
50.
It's right around 46, these lots. Now take a guess, and this is where we deviate, take a guess what the asking price of these houses are.
Oh, I learned that.
This is in Colorado.
Oh.
This is Longmont, Colorado, but
650,000.
yeah, just keep going on up.
That's probably about 900.
And importantly, these have a neo-traditional component architecture to them, but the entire project is no more than 25 years old. I believe it was developed in around 2001 or so. So they're all relatively new homes. They have a very strong community. They have a very strong HOA. They do have a commercial component. It's not Wal-Mart, but they do have a commercial component out front here for local use. They also do have this vacant area, which is intended for more of a regional development. So many comparables to this. The overall acreage, David, do you remember what I told you the overall acreage was? Was about the same as this,
It's
about
very
40
similar.
acres.
Yeah.
So a lot more units in this. They also have some apartments in this, as well as apartments over commercial. So again, that's not what is being proposed tonight, to be clear, but this is what whetted their appetite, got their gears going, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong on that one.
Without a doubt.
So again, trying to fit multiple things, price point, density, the fact that it is Columbia City. We can't support $900,000 houses, at least not this many of them. But again, so you guys know where I was coming from in giving them some ideas at least.
When you go back to the original picture that you showed,
Mm-hmm.
are there garages?
There are garages. They are alley lighted.
Okay,
So-
so they have an alley behind.
Yeah.
That's something they don't have here anymore.
So I'll give you what these alleys look like. And you can even see how much closer these
Yeah.
are. But again, difference here, you can see the amount of rear yard is a lot lower. They do have accessory dwelling units on several of the garages. These
Some of
don't.
those garages burn, they're all gonna burn.
It's just like that.
They're so close.
They do have fire-rated walls because they are closer to the property line. But again, like this one has four cars, 4 parking spaces, 2 in the garage, 2 outside, 1 in the portico, plus the entire width here. So there's potentially 8 parking spaces on this. This one's probably a 45, 48 foot wide lot. So again, not what's being proposed tonight, to be clear, but something to get your wheels turning as well.
Any other questions?
Thank you very much.
At this time, I'll open up for public comment. Those who would like to come up and in support of the project, and then we'll do folks that are unopposed or opposed to the project. So, anyone in favor?
I'd like to.
Sure.
I'm Jerry Busche, 9730 South 800 East, Roanoke. I'm a manufacturer. This is out of my league, so we're trying to get something here for this community. I got involved with this because we need workers. We need people. We need young people in these factories. Every day we're trying to hire, and I'm not the only manufacturer doing it. That's why I got behind it. Nathan brought it to us. Seemed doable. That's why we're trying to do it. And I'm game for anything you guys want. We just want to get this moving. So you tell me what you want, we'll get it done. So any
questions for Mr. Busche?
Thank you.
I'll just interject something also, just to kind of give reference to what we're dealing with. The Economic Development Commission has applied for a Ready 2.0 grant to help with infrastructure. As Greg can also comment, we are planning on tipping the area, so it'll be a tax increment fund to help, ease with some of the infrastructure costs and everything like that. So, the city is behind it. I hope if it goes this way, it turns out. I have a vision.
Like I say, I go to different conferences, and the number one issue with all the cities is housing and the need of it. And because we are unique in with us being between Fort Wayne and Warsaw, we have a unique opportunity to have people that want to live here and commute back and forth, or like you said, we need them to work here. So I understand the need for housing after speaking with multiple cities, and I just, like I said, I had some concerns with the size of lots and how we can best take care of our citizens. That's my big issue right now, is how we take care of them after the effect.
I agree with you. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this project?
Brooks Langlow, 818 North Newport Run, Columbia City. One question I had in the pictures that were up earlier, there was sidewalks right on the street. Is that what's proposed in your south section?
It could be. Which one were you?
The very first one.
One at DuPont.
The,
One at DuPont and Lima Road.
So
That one.
yeah,
that one. Let me actually go to the aerial. The aerial, it's not built yet, so I can't tell you for sure whether that extends that way throughout the subdivision or if it's just this entrance. It may just be this entrance.
Yeah, I just didn't know if that was a plan for these, because I know there's been some issues in Heritage Place with those sidewalks right up. Those being public, snow plows, where's the snow go? Right on the sidewalk. And that's, like I said, again, I probably fit in better talking for this than against it, but I've just had some concerns that I wanted to bring up, and like I said, I didn't want to actually sit up here and speak against it. And Dan had brought up again, our subdivision we just put in, we were required to put 20-foot driveways in to accommodate the parking to get 2 vehicles off the street. I know there's no set ordinance on width of a driveway, but to be consistent, if you're talking 2-car garage, we had to do 20 foot. I think that's, and again, part of the reason we did that, and we were willing to do it, we were planning to do it anyway. Again, the reason was in Chesapeake, a lot of those are 16 foot wide and some are 18, but cars still park staggered and then block the sidewalk. And then I don't know if a concern or just to point out in the comprehensive plan for the city, that is set for commercial. And I don't know if Jerry's got plans, how much commercial is going in the front part of it, but to just keep in mind that if you look at the comprehensive plan again, there's not much space for business to go elsewhere. So just keep in mind that we should probably keep some of that space, for business in the future, because we're going to end up pushing that somewhere else that we may not want it. Because again, in the comprehensive plan, that's the biggest area planned for future commercial anywhere in the city limits. So again, just hopefully keep that in mind on the next phases. Keep as much of that commercial as possible, small business or whatever. And something for you guys to think about too, future-wise on that. But no, I like the idea. You do need affordable housing. Know what that is. It's hard to say anymore. But thanks.
Thanks, Brooks. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor? If not, we'll move on, and anyone who is opposed to this project that would like to make a comment, please come up, state your name and address. Okay. So we'll go ahead and close the public input at this time. And board, what your discussion?
It takes me back to the question again, Nathan, about, as Brooks had just pointed out in his recent development, the conditions that we had made for those streets in that addition, and also that 20-foot driveway situation in there, if that's not something we shouldn't be considering in this lower section.
Sounds like they're gonna do anything they need to.
I agree. I'm not sure what you, yes, I mean, are you suggesting that you want to take more time on refining the southern section before moving forward?
Well, can this be approved with that as a condition?
I don't see why not. If you want to restate it for the record, make sure Amanda gets it.
Okay, well, I guess when we get to a motion, we could add that in there. I'll let my other colleagues speak on what their concerns are.
I think my concerns were addressed. The gentleman speaking there, I learned a little bit tonight, plus understanding, you know, like I said, I just want to take care of the people after they're there. That's my number one concern at this point, because and the access or entrances and, you know, the added people to the intersection there at Wal-Mart with the 8-way stop, you know, I know we're at least looking at that, I hope, but that was my other concern, was the additional people coming in and out of that area, because it's already kind of a mess, and if we can figure out some way, make it a little more convenient. Other than that, I was very impressed with the explanations I heard tonight.
Go ahead. Didn't we have a continuation till the next time we meet?
That is one of your options.
Mm-hmm. Let me give them some chance and give us some chance to go back over what we got down here.
Make a recommendation to do that.
So I'd make a recommendation that we wait. It's a good idea, it's nice. But there are some minor questions that we have written down that we can talk. And come back at our next meeting and sit down. You know what we're looking at, or what we think areas need to be looked at, and just brought a little closer to, I think everybody would go ahead and make a session to go ahead and make.
I second Don's recommendation.
Don, was that a motion? Was a motion? So a motion to, I don't want to say table, do I?
Continue to the next meeting.
Continue to the next meeting. Approval, or I guess address the concerns that we have tonight.
I also would like to just say that I appreciate this plan being brought forward into Windley County. There's a lot of individuals that are having issues with getting employees, especially those younger employees, and finding housing and for them to be close to where they work, so they can work, play, and live in their community. So I do appreciate this being done. This property has been vacant for a very long time, and I just hope that this doesn't everyone votes to continue this, that this doesn't discourage you.
Nathan, a question, isn't there a, I don't want to say, I guess maybe an executive committee or something that looks at things like this and then comes back with recommendations?
What you're thinking of is probably the technical review committee, which is what looks at the development plans. So its development plans are what actually gets built, and then you look at it at secondary plat before it gets recorded. I'm not sure whether that's necessarily the, if the same people are necessarily going to be the same ones interested as this, but yeah, we could use those people, or we could create an ad hoc committee specifically for working with the petitioner to address some of these concerns over the next month. That was actually going to be my suggestion. Take some volunteers.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second on the floor to continue this subdivision proposal to the next meeting. Is there any further discussion?
Did you want to add this committee review or committee recommendation or negotiation?
I would suggest take the vote, and then if it is continued, we'll, if you're agreeable, we'll take volunteers to create that ad hoc committee.
Okay.
What's the list of concerns, I guess? So, I mean, if we're tabling it because we got concerns, what are the concerns?
I think it was the driveway width.
Driveway length.
Private streets.
But we can make that as a, the driveway width could be made as a,
Yeah, we can make that as part of the. We can make that as part of the
recommendations.
The recommendations, so we can get this thing going.
I think we're kicking the can down the road, just thinking about it for another month.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was looking at, because I think we can get.
I mean, they're not gonna build on them. They have to come back to us to build, to decide the, driveway width and everything, and.
That's why I said if we can get it going now, I don't know what extended time period is gonna offer us. So I would.
That's
go
fine,
along with-
we can amend what Nathan has proposed us, we can actually amend the driveway if that's a concern, we can,
Were there any
I don't-
additional
I don't see the need to push
recommendations
this
to add?
Yeah.
out of month.
I think we'd also put into that the size of everything. The size of the lot, the size of the thing that they were talking about. And I think if you people want to think about that, but it should be gone over and made sure that, hey, this is what it's going to be. Then you don't even know the size of some of the lots to put anything in.
Okay, so
We had that motion.
yeah, I'm assuming we have to address that motion before we do anything else, right?
Right, discussion is fine regarding whether or not to continue it, but you do have to take a vote.
Right.
Yes.
So any further discussion on Don's motion? Okay, hearing none. Those in favor of Don's motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, raise same sign. So it was 2-4 and 7 against. Okay. All right. So what are our concerns that we would like to have addressed?
Well, the driveway width was one.
Narrowness of streets and the being private streets.
The streets don't meet the criteria, it's a matter of them being private and the limitations of the right of way in the south section.
Right.
I think it was the construction of the street that was being private, it doesn't have to meet, but he stated that they would meet, they'd be built at the city spec.
City spec requirements, yeah.
I think the private was supposed to be built like city specs, aren't they?
That's the proposed condition number 4. It clearly states that even private streets would be built to the subdivision specification.
I think it was just the right-of-way width.
It goes from 60 to 50.
Which allows for a larger back.
So it's just the right of way.
Right.
So it's just the right of way. The pavement width stayed the same.
Yes.
But just the right of way was different.
And next month, if they want to go to 50-foot right of ways, we can do a waiver for them, or, you know, and go that way.
Yeah.
Or not.
Or not.
The other concern I have is something that was pointed out was this sidewalk abutting with the curb, and we've had our other developers have that separation between the curb and the sidewalk area. And I think we need to maintain that type of scenario. I know we had individual concerned about how snow removal was gonna be, but at the same time, I think we need to maintain that integrity of separation.
Which is another 5 feet from curb to sidewalk.
Well, the sidewalk itself is 5 feet.
Right, you have a 5 foot from the back of curb to the front edge of the sidewalk, then you have another 5 foot.
It wasn't it's not very wide there.
The city street spec already calls out a planting strip there, which is a variable width per the city specification. You're right, typically it's 5 feet based upon the width of the pavement and the right-of-way width, but even now that width does vary. So I would, unless you really feel like you want to nail something down, I would say fall back on what the current city spec is and allow it to be variable.
Placement of mailboxes. I don't know, if you don't have that space there, it's gonna be a heck of a thing to put a mailbox in a sidewalk.
Well, who says they might not have one of them consolidated stations where
Oh, they could do
everybody just
that.
comes to one point to get their mail?
They could do that, but I know we dealt with sidewalk, mailbox locations with the post office. I know I dealt with that. That gets a little crazy.
So, you
Okay,
just-
anything else we want to put in here?
Jen, did you have something earlier?
It was just the exiting onto 109 and
Oh.
what a mess that might be.
I think that option possibly won't be discerned until probably later, once the
So we have a chance to
NDOT
talk about that
studies.
later.
NDOT study and
No,
They reckon-
NDOT will get a chance to talk about it.
Yeah.
Decide
But we can
Decide.
discuss what they're.
But we can't do anything about it.
And
the ones we had.
All right, I'll make a motion for 25C-SUBD-3 Swihart Properties with staff conditions and the conditions stated by the Plan Commission.
Second.
Yes. You can have it. Motion by Chip, second by Nikki. Any further discussion?
Could we go ahead and just clarify the conditions that the plan commission is concerned about for Amanda?
And for me.
And for, yes.
Driveway width.
For the record.
Driveway.
Street to city specs with the tree lawn and everything, sidewalks, where they're at, in reference to the tree lawn.
Anything else that we're forgetting?
and the initial considerations that were made by staff.
Yes.
And he said that.
All right.
Okay.
I didn't hear it, I'm sorry.
Anything else? If not, those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed? Okay. We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item is 25-C-DEV-2 Valvoline Instant Oil Change Development Plan Review, Automotive Service Center, 309 West Plaza Drive. Nathan.
Thank you. We're just living it up on the Town and Country Plaza area here. So this is a development plan for 309 West Plaza Drive, Zone GB General Business. It's just under an acre in total area, comprised of Lot F of the replat of Lot 5 of Town and Country Plaza, aka the former Bob Evans restaurant. What is being proposed is a new commercial building and parking. More specifically, approximately 2,600 square foot, one-story building with a basement, quick oil change and auto repair. More oil change, but they do offer some repair services. What is currently proposed is a structure that has 2 service bays. There is some room on the west side of the structure that additional bays could be added. You'll see that on the plan. Currently, there would be 9 parking spaces, including 1 ADA accessible, which meets the requirements for ADA, and 5 stacking spaces per bay, which meets the requirement for stacking spaces of our parking code. Additionally, landscaping would be included. There are other aspects that are in the set of plans that you received, but those were major components. So, for everyone's reference, this is highlighted in blue is the subject site. US 30 across the south part, Line Street, 109, Plaza Drive along the north side, frontage road going off to the east. Closer view. This is the site plan component of the development plan package. You'll note that there is an existing access drive that goes along all of the different properties of Lot 5 of Town and Country Plaza. So this is the easternmost end, ties in there, and then comes down into the parking area. This is the area that would be the 5 stacking spaces for the 2 bays. You can see that potentially, if they desire, they do have room for at least 1 additional space to the west, bay to the west, if not possibly 2. And again, the additional stacking spaces, if we follow the current parking code, could still be accommodated. The number of stacking spaces, as we may look at parking code in the future, may be reduced for services like this. Sometimes 5 spaces makes a lot of sense, sometimes it doesn't, so this may be further evaluated. Dumpster enclosure located immediately north of the building, located right here. This is the building, I forgot to point that out. And then the employee parking primarily is located up here. The ADA space is located on the accessible route to the building itself. Overlaid over the aerial, that's hopefully fairly clear. You can see where the Bob Evans restaurant used to be, located right here. I believe virtually all of the hardscape is to be removed. However, the landscaping, a large portion of the landscaping that's on the site will be retained. These are the south and east building elevations. The north and west are very similar. Ephes and thin brick masonry are the 2 primary components, as well as glass for the doors. Floor plans, the lower level is on the upper view, the main level is on the lower view. So you have oil storage, I believe break room, overall workspace, the 2 service bays, office space, waiting area for those services that may take some time. And then landscape plan. Landscape plan is pretty extensive for a site this size. I will say it does go above what we normally see. The number of trees is pretty much spot on to the minimum required in terms of street trees, but the amount of shrubs and other landscaping, they do have a variety of perennials included, is beyond what we normally see. does point out one question I do have for the petitioner to clarify. The landscape plan shows a sign location here, which is the current Bob Evans sign location. However, the site plan shows a location over here, so that would need to be refined. One needs to be changed or the other, or maybe there's a third location that they'll use. But in any case, signs do need to still meet the sign code if a new one is proposed. Let me jump back to the site plan real quick. You'll note that there is a sidewalk that is shown. Zoom in here. Sidewalk along Plaza Drive there. It winds up ending, as it does currently, just above where that S66 tag is. I unfortunately can't have the pointer when I'm zoomed in, but it's right there towards the east end of the site. So right here is where the current sidewalk ends. And that's where the current site plan leaves it as well. There's no additional sidewalk proposed whatsoever. I'm going to suggest that the commission, as part of this development plan, require that this sidewalk at least be brought out to a ramp at the pavement, so at least it terminates in some sort of fashion that makes sense at the intersection. If we were applying the overall standard of requiring frontage sidewalks on all frontages, all accessible frontages anyway, that would include coming down 109 and on out. You know, with US 30 happening in 12 to 15 years-ish, possibly, this intersection will get redone, and US 30 will get redone. So the part that parallels State Road 109, Line Street, I have a hard time recommending to you guys. However, I also do see the argument that it's still 15 years of longevity on a sidewalk. So
it's kind of amazing the number of people that cross.
Right.
30 walking.
That is another component of this. So when I get to the conditions, my recommendation is to at minimum get the existing sidewalk out to the intersection to a ramp. You guys can talk amongst yourselves whether more is warranted. But again, as we've talked about before in other projects, we want to start pushing for sidewalks as much as possible. And while they may not lead to anywhere temporarily, eventually they will and start filling in gaps. Let's see. So I mentioned the landscaping. Your review criteria are there on the screen. Staff's opinion is that everything is met with some conditions, relatively short conditions. Number one, just a general statement that it would be approved as presented with any of these conditions. Number two, the standard address any outstanding comments. Number three, exterior lighting would be directed and or shielded to prevent glare onto public rights of way. This is all a commercial area. We don't have residential in the immediate area, so the main thing is preventing glare. The photometric plan does show a few areas along the property line that exceed 1/2 foot candle, which is basically a good norm for residential property. But again, that's not a big deal. If you're putting more light onto a street in a commercial area, generally that's pretty okay. It's additional street lighting. So the big thing though is making sure that we don't have glare onto the adjacent streets. Number four, I did not mention either. I'll go back to the site plan real quick as well. North of the dumpster enclosure is a very large amount of pavement, which at some point in the future, if they do add that extra bay, might be used for additional parking, but it is extraneous pavement at the moment. basically accessing that dumpster enclosure, which could be done from either side if the enclosure was angled 45 degrees. So I hate to be nitpicky, but it just doesn't feel quite right to have that much pavement, unless there's a good cause, and I could not figure out what that would be. So that's why I'm suggesting that potentially that additional pavement be taken out with this plan, or something else figured out to do with that area. And then number 5, I already mentioned, discuss the additional sidewalk. So any questions for me?
I have a very simple question. And hopefully the petitioner, we could consider something in this landscape plan, like you said, it was rather extensive. And they're showing these trees along that east line of the blacktop and the other, the 10-foot bed and that. And I was wondering, the area that's east of that, it would be just as easy for them to put those trees out in that grass area versus having it along that edge that they could, possibly have hampering at some point, let's say a delivery truck or something, 3 or 5 years down the road with branches and stuff. Just, and still obtain the same effect.
The problem, I think, would be if you put them out east of there, they're gonna become larger and probably detract from the view of the intersection up there as you're looking south at the road and State Road 109. You don't wanna block the sight line.
So that's what I was gonna bring up, if we put a sidewalk in there, or ask them to put a sidewalk in, and mainly, my opinion is we almost need to put a sidewalk in there because of all the people that are walking across 30 right now. At least they'd be able to get off that road and get onto a sidewalk instead of being walking along that intersection, which is crazy enough, without adding bodies out there. I think we need to look at seriously putting a sidewalk along Line Street there.
Okay.
That intersection, which again would possibly move those trees, one way or the other, depending on how you look at it, I guess.
If the sidewalk does come into existence, you're actually saying it would be on his property and not on the state's right of way?
Yeah, well, we couldn't put it on the state right away. We'd have to put it. Can we put it on the state right away? Okay, well then that's fine. I wasn't sure we had to get special permission to do that, but I just think we need to have a sidewalk along there, just because I've witnessed a lot of people personally trying to get across there.
And not just that, but it's being consistent with what we have been trying to go forward with.
Exactly.
So it may help here to bring up this is dated from 2019. Let me see if I know this is 2023. So this is the street view for reference. You can see the existing sidewalk, how it ends on Plaza Drive. You can see the lack thereof here. As proposed, the edge of pavement of the Valvoline parking lot would actually be farther back than the existing Bob Evans parking, so there would be a bit more green space in there. You do have a swale drainage ditch here. That would help, that would dictate where that sidewalk could go. Probably more likely onto Valvoline's property than in the right of way because of that.
I mean, that's unfortunate. We're asking Valvoline to do it, but we wasn't here. And we didn't have the switch situation when Bob Evans was in. Other ways, we told Bob Evans to do the same thing.
Exactly.
I think, but times have changed.
And when things come up like this, we write what we didn't do right the first time.
Yeah, and the right of way, you do have quite a few road signs right here, so almost definitely it would have to be closer to the, either on their property or really close to the right of way line.
And if that's the case, then I guess the tree line can stay where it's designed. as long as the sidewalk gets put in. Okay,
Let me know if you need that back.
you good with that?
Yes, sir.
I just got a question. Sounds says development plan review automobile service center. Service center gets awful big and awful stuff laying around and whatever.
It's an oil change place.
Pardon?
Oil change.
It's an oil change place,
Yep.
Like take 5 process.
like a 5-minute oil change place.
Well, you better find that out some way or something.
He's gonna tell you when he gets up here.
Yeah.
Yeah, who,
I'm ahead of the ball.
You are.
next question, who maintains the entrance off of Plaza Drive? Because that is a nightmare. I got into Kentucky Fried Chicken, and there's like huge potholes to get in there. It's always been that way. Like, who maintains that? I mean, I know that's not part of Valvoline's property, but that's a disaster trying to get in and out of there. And so who maintains that?
It is the obligation of the property owners in that lot 5, so A through F. There is an easement that was part of the overall replat that specifies, and there's shares of maintenance that are allocated per lot. So it is the obligation of those individual landowners.
Okay, I was gonna say, how do we get somebody to enforce that?
I believe the mayor is already looking into that and sending I'll say sending a letter. I'm not sure exactly what, but something on that sort.
Okay, well, it was additional traffic coming in and out of there. Obviously, I mean, we had a lot of traffic with Bob Evans, but it's just, that's a heck of a thing to try to dodge around myself. So,
Okay, we want.
Any questions for Nathan? All right, Mr. Valvoline, you come up.
Well, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Mike Mahalik. I am a project manager with CESO, and we are working on behalf of Valvoline. We do the civil drawings, the architectural drawings, and the permitting for this project. So we kind of got everything going on here. But Nathan, Amanda, thank you guys so much for your help getting this all put together. Really thorough, detailed overview there. I don't have a lot to add. We're excited to work with you guys to hopefully get this project moving forward. I know there's a couple concerns here that I'm definitely prepared to address. We also have, I believe, if they're still here, a couple representatives from Valvoline on virtually as well. A couple project managers for this project as well. So I can dive right into some of the items that were brought forth during discussion, and then I'm happy to talk those through and then answer any questions you guys may still have. So I think regarding Nathan, first off, the sidewalk extension along Plaza, I don't think that would be an issue to do at all. We kind of discussed that a little bit with Valvoline and that. I think that's only a 15, maybe 20 foot building extension there, bringing that to the intersection of Line Street and Plaza, along with the ADA ramp. I certainly think that is something we could definitely do. Sidewalk along Line Street. Now that, just looking kind of what we have in front of us, are we looking to have that on Valvoline's property? We're trying to get a little bit more clarity as far as expectations there, because I know there's an existing swale, which I assume is in DOT's right of way, right? Which I would then think we need to be inside of that. So kind of just looking forward to that. Would the intention be running that along Valvoline or within Valvoline's property line?
My suggestion is if you do want to make that condition, leave it open-ended.
Okay.
And make the goal be that there be a sidewalk that parallels Line Street. The exact location to be determined.
Okay. The Valvoline representation we have on the call here, I don't know if you guys can hear me, but would that be something Valvoline's willing to do, Robin or Julie or John, with that sidewalk along Line Street?
Yes, this is Robin Pack with Valvoline. And yes, we would be willing to do that.
Perfect. Thank you, Robin. I was afraid no one was going to answer me. I was going to look
A question for you, and I don't know if you can answer this. Is, you mentioned, Mike, how NDOT would treat this. So
Sure.
we would have to find that out as well.
Absolutely, yeah. And I'm in discussions right now. We're actually in for our drainage permit with NDOT, and they're reviewing it currently because we are tying into that existing storm pipe that they have that ultimately outlets into their drainage along US 30. So we're more than happy to touch base with them and see what might be required there. Now, if it's something that they say, hey, you know, if you're on your property, we don't need to be involved, and we have the room to do it, that seems like the most feasible option. But I think that's something that on our side we'll look into, but ultimately bring forth some sort of proposed sidewalk along Line Road. So I think that addresses.
This is Julie.
Go ahead, Julie. I'm sorry.
This is Julie with Wal-Mart. I have a follow-up question. That along County 30, it's very weeded. It looks like there's some grade challenges there. Where exactly would that sidewalk terminate?
Good question.
Wouldn't it match up with the sidewalk extension, so that way you can go right from one to another?
No, she's talking about where it ends at 30.
Oh, right there.
Yeah, there's a guardrail there.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. I'm sorry. That's a great question.
Someone said that we actually already have people walking over here, and I don't remember who mentioned it to me earlier in the day. Oftentimes you'll take a sidewalk where the cow path is, so that might dictate, it might wind up at the edge of pavement at that guardrail, which is not ideal, but again, putting the sidewalk where the people are may be the best solution if we can't figure out a different one.
So when they cross, they walk right along that guardrail.
Yeah, they go out
And
the
then
street
to the grass.
With a sidewalk at that location, that just seems so dangerous. If you put a sidewalk there, I know there's people walking there already, but by putting a sidewalk there, are you encouraging more pedestrian traffic? And is crossing that major intersection, is that illegal?
Well, the people that use that usually are work release people that basically live in an older hotel or whatnot. It's not common people. I don't know how you say that nicely, but it's mainly people that don't have a driver's license that work under work release that seem to be the ones walking across there. I agree with you that it's dangerous now.
I don't think it's unlawful. I don't think it's unlawful.
Sure.
But it's not ideal.
I've seen the wheelchairs.
Yeah, I think ultimately we're trying to figure out too where to Robin's point, where that sidewalk would ultimately meet the road.
It would have to be where the guardrail
Where the ends.
Where the guardrail ends. Okay.
Well, yeah, ideally that would be the case, build a sidewalk bridge over the top of 30.
But we're suggesting that Valvoline.
There you go.
They could do that when they're building the overpass.
Yeah.
We wouldn't suggest it, but we'd love it if you would.
And that may be too where since that is within that NDOT right of way, they may perhaps dictate how that is installed. So, like I said, I'm happy to follow up with NDOT to see what options might be available for that. Obviously, running it within our property, we can do that. We can look at how to best design that. But to your all point, if we need to bring it to that guardrail, we are then in NDOT right of way. Therefore, we would need to see what their thoughts would be on that. Because they may make us do something entirely different or say that's a safety concern. I'm not sure what they would say, but that's something we
And that
certainly
might be
do.
part of their new, whatever they're gonna do with the intersection improvements there.
Exactly.
Is there a sidewalk on the other side of the street from our business?
No, there is not.
Okay.
It's an open.
And there's not on the south side either.
Yeah, on the east side, that is all that green area. Let me bring that up so you can see it. All that grassy area is right of way for intersection improvement, interchange. So everything from Line Street over to Three Rivers is state right of way.
Honestly, you don't see people walking over there.
They'll walk along by it.
Yeah, they walk along by Bevins.
Yeah, most of the pedestrian traffic, I'm sure, is along the west side, as Dan mentioned, given where they're coming to and from. And then they disperse. You have sidewalks starting right here and on down. So basically on the south side where the NDOT right-of-way stops-ish, where the intersection right-of-way stops, you have sidewalks starting.
I mean, we are happy to reach out to NDOT and see what their thoughts might be on that, bringing that as close as possible to where these pedestrians are crossing, and kind of communicate that to the city and work with you, Nathan, and see what our options might be.
Chip and I would probably be tag teaming on this one.
Okay.
Right, Chip?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Chip.
All right. And then kind of moving ahead to the pavement, Nathan, you had mentioned some additional pavement there north of the dumpster. And our thought process is there. There we go, as you pull that up. Thank you. So, Valvoline, typically what they've seen with a lot of their past sites, and they kind of developed this prototypical distance for, the trash truck to enter, pick up the trash, back up safely, exit the site is about, I think it's 50 feet. If I don't have that, if I'm not mistaken on that. Thank you, Robin. 50 feet. And then for parking, their drive aisles, typically you'll see there's 24 feet right behind those parking spaces. That allows ample room for those folks to back out of those parking spaces. So with that, you got about 90 feet there from the front of the dumpster to those spaces, and you factor in that 50 feet and the 24, you're left with about 15 feet of potential extra pavement. I do definitely understand what you're talking about as far as possible confusion with circulation. I think one item here that might help with this is potentially striping in front of that dumpster, 50 feet, whatever it might be, to delineate that area separate from the rest. Because I think having some sort of floating island or eliminating that smaller portion of pavement may lead to more issues. So that's kind of our thought process here. I just think getting rid of that may lead to more issues with circulation, if that makes sense. I just wanted to clearly state kind of like what the defined, and I know we can go a little bit smaller than prototypical minimums, but that seems to work really well with what's brought forth as far as the 50 feet for the dumpster and the 24 feet for backing out of those parking spaces.
I brought it up because it just didn't seem quite right.
Yeah,
so
no, I understand.
It's yours to talk about.
No, I completely agree, and I see what you're looking at there, and I had to break it down this morning actually to look what are these prototypical minimums, and when I added it up, I'm going, well, there's about 15 feet there, and how do we address that, and would it lead to more issues? And I ultimately think it probably would, especially if you look at potential queuing, getting folks out and having to maneuver that turn and then up and out of the site. Again, along with the trash truck as well, getting into that dumpster and safely being able to back out and exit the site as well. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. I don't know if any of you guys have any thoughts on that. Any questions? And I think going back to, it sounded like the landscaping was, we kind of arrived at a solution there, but I think that'll probably be based off of where the sidewalk is laid out along Line Street. And I think we're happy to maneuver those trees on our property as needed. There's not a specific, they must stay with where they're showing right now. They could shift if needed, but again, if that sidewalk's going to be impacted by them, my recommendation would be to keep them where they are shown. So we're happy to revise that plan with that sidewalk, with that potential sidewalk. But yeah, willing to work with you guys on that as well.
So we're staying with the way the blacktop, the asphalt originally is, right?
I would say that's what's submitted. Stick to that unless it needs to change for another reason.
All right.
Oh, and I'm sorry, I forgot one more. The sign, this is our mistake and I apologize, is correct on all of the plans except the landscape plan. So the sign will be located out of that existing easement where it's currently shown on the site plan.
So right there.
Yes, so just to address that discrepancy, we'll get that adjusted in our plans.
You won't be obstructed by the chicken house sign in any way?
I'm sorry, with the what?
You won't be obstructed by the KFC sign in any way? You'll be all right?
I don't think so. Where's the KFC sign at?
Well, it's on the next lot, right beside you.
Gotcha. I think we'll be okay. Oh yeah, there you go.
Any other questions for Mike?
Well, thank you all for your time. I mean, I appreciate it. Happy to answer any more you might have. And we are in for our NDOT drainage permit, like I mentioned, as well as IDHS, our state design release, which is coming along as well. So we're making some progress and looking forward to continuing to work with you guys. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we'll open up public comment. You're in favor of the project, you're against the project? Come to the podium.
Can't sit back here all night and not say anything.
It wouldn't be you if you did.
Phil Hodges, 157 North Lexington Drive, Columbia City. I think it's being a little bit short-sighted in requiring someone to put a sidewalk into nowhere. I know that that's something that you guys are pushing towards. It makes sense as a whole in general, but there's been other exceptions where you guys have said, hey, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense to put a sidewalk into nowhere. That property that the sidewalk would be on doesn't even belong to them. If you look at GIS, I think that property's state right away where they would have to put that sidewalk. I think you're promoting a more dangerous situation than what you have there now. So just sitting here and listening to the conversation, I think this is another one of these instances where we all have heard that if or when 30 does get changed, it's going to be an underpass or an overpass there. So there's not going to be an intersection. It'd be real easy to put sidewalks in at that point during that construction project. Just doesn't make a lot of sense to put a sidewalk in that goes nowhere. I'm in favor of the project. I think it'd be great for your community.
Absolutely. Thanks, Thor. Anyone else? At this time, we'll close the public comment section.
I might offer one other, going off of that. Rather than actually constructing a sidewalk now for the reasons we've talked about, potentially just having a sidewalk easement on the property so that it's very clear that there is intended to be a sidewalk at some point in the future, even though it's not constructed right now. And NDOT is, if we have an easement there, hopefully in terms of whatever the design for the overpass will be, it gets incorporated. Even though it's not constructed, there is an easement there for one in the future. So that might be kind of a moderate compromise option as well.
I like that. That's a good idea.
Sorry, if I could ask one question. Would that then be the easement, I assume, would then be on Valvoline's property?
That would,
assuming that would take that into account. Okay, I just wanted to clarify. I appreciate it. Thank you.
And then when they do their construction, maybe they would put the
That's
sidewalk
what I
in.
was thinking you guys were getting at. Yes. I appreciate it.
Yeah, because after looking at the topography of that, with that guardrail all the way up there and the ditch, so to speak, I don't know how you put one in there, honestly. After reviewing that first, I thought maybe a sidewalk would be highly advisable for people walking through there, but that guardrail goes up so far. And then there's the ditch that you've got to figure out how you're gonna get across, that also. I don't know how you engineer that. It'd be interesting to see how that would work. I know we've just gotta get people off of there as quick as possible, because just people don't have much of a conscience driving through there sometimes, but, I don't know what the solution is, quite honestly. I like sidewalks, but boy, how do you do that at that location? I thought it was a little flatter than that, but, so, that's just my 2 cents.
So for now, the sidewalk that runs would just extend out with an ADA ramp at the intersection.
Right.
Okay.
And a plotted sidewalk easement along the
Right.
east side of the building.
Right away.
Right away, sorry. Okay. Any other discussion? Ready for a motion?
Make a motion to accept with staff's recommendation.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion?
Would that include the provision of a sidewalk easement
Yes.
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 in addition to number 5?
Yes.
Those in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. Those opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Welcome to the community.
Thank you.
Other business, Nathan?
I do have, real quick, the 2026 meeting calendar dates for your consideration. If you want to formally approve them, you can, or by consensus, or if you want to digest them and look at your calendars and bring it back for next month. The only non-standard first Monday date would be September 14th, as typical, because we're avoiding Labor Day. All the others are first Mondays. And then fifth Monday training dates for everyone's reference. March 30th in 2026 is spring break for all 3 school districts. So we are canceling that one. You just have June 29th, August 31st, and November 30th. So.
Yeah, it's like last week, there wasn't very many there anyway. Unfortunately.
Pat gave me a couple suggestions before the meeting. We'll see if we can add that to next year's docket.
Okay.
That's what I had.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
See you guys.